So, we're going to start today with the second session, and first of all, let's go into some questions that you might have from the first session or from the text I sent, or a comment, or something you would like to bring up. Or something you have noticed through this month, practicing, something that have shifted, new insight.
Yeah, I think firstly thanks for the choice of texts, because I kind of managed to read, but maybe not everything in depth. But it was nice to have like more easy read texts and this one long text about the background of Indian religion. This was quite challenging. I forgot how it is to read challenging texts.
Okay.
It was really nice. And
do you mean the one from Esvaran, or?
It was, I forgot the name of the author, but it was the really, really long one.
A really long one. The one from Esvaran, yeah.
And it's really good, but you have to take time.
Yeah.
At least have to take time.
Yes.
But it was a nice mixture.
And nice you printed them. It's easier. I find it's easier to read when things are printed down.
Yeah. But what was nice, I think you mentioned it also last time, that we kind of work with these ideas and work with them in the mind, like we do the asana practice. And this is something where I start to get a glimpse of the idea. I didn't really start doing it yet. The idea is very appealing to me, and so this is quite a big step. I feel really overwhelmed. I said it before to Matthias, because I really don't know how to do the asana practice and the meditation and the pranayama and all this.
Yeah.
But it's nice.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I think it's important to, as we said in the first session, like to expose ourselves. You know, like this is intended to be like this because we're not all alike. We are all different people, and we have different attractions, and we work in different ways. Our minds, our bodies are appealed, and they get talked to like in different ways with different things. So it's nice to have like a mix of languages and subjects and themes. Also with the practice, you know, there are some people who are more action oriented and they need kind of action, and people are that it's a bit overwhelming for some people, so they are more keen going into like straight away into seated practices like pranayama or meditation. Me personally, like I don't do everything, you know, it's like I have periods of my life, and I'm so happy that I have all those practices to kind of draw from, you know, like there are some, and yesterday we were talking with Matthias about, for example, like, because my daughter is 11 already, and maybe she gets her period kind of soon, and we were talking about, and he asked me like, what's the good thing about having like bleeding, you know, and I was like, having a cycle is so good, I find, because I have like this sense of this perception of like things change so ingrained inside of me, you know, it's like I see the world through this lens, through this cyclic nature, you know. And then I told him, I don't know how would it be otherwise, like, I mean, I don't know, you would be like a robot, like all the time, like the same, you know. And he was like, yeah, it's not like that, you know. But with the practice, I think it's the same, because it's a common question that comes up, that how do I manage to do everything, you know, and it's not supposed to be that. This is why we practice consistently, and to notice the shifts, the cycle, the things, the phases of our life, and it's like, okay, so today I can allocate a bit more of the action part, or maybe I need something that is more grounding, or so At the beginning, when you are learning, it's important to kind of cook yourself there. Because still you don't know, you don't have the judgment to see what's needed right now. And this is why it's like the teacher is there at the beginning and you need to kind of put yourself there.
There is all these practices that you can do, yeah, but and they are meant to reach liberation, and we might be still a bit, it's like we do what we can. Okay, I managed to pay the rent now. We are kind of far away from that still, and of course if we were apart, maybe living in a cave without any responsibilities in this world and just working towards that aim, then probably it would be good to follow the Patanjali method and do the Ashtanga Yoga and do the asana, pranayama, dharana, dhyana, and get samadhi till you get the final liberation. But before that, you might have to struggle a bit to see what is right now your phase of your life. We were talking about that last class also. Some people, they do have organized to have more time to do this and this and this, but it doesn't mean we always like that, I think the majority of the students, they have to do a lot only to live in this ordinary world, They cannot even think about having 3 different practices every day.
Yeah, this is a practice that is like a household practice in the sense of it's meant to support your life, Of course it's gonna mess up with your life. Because I was talking to a friend and we were talking about like reading complex books or long books, and it's like, yeah, it's not TikTok, it's like, it's not something that's already digested for you, it's something that, yeah, it demands something from you. It's not like putting everything. So, but it's meant to be supportive to your life, and this doesn't look fixed or steady. It's not that you're gonna reach like a setup that it's okay, this because it's gonna change, It's like because it's meant to change. It's meant, and it's important that that through this understand how impermanent we are, nature, and and be okay with it, with letting go, with be adaptive, fluid, but yeah. Today is not gonna be easier. The theory, and the texts are not gonna get easier as well either. But I'm gonna send a bunch of texts also that some of them are gonna be kind of one is an interview, so it's kind of nicer, and then the other one is heavy. But it's a little bit for everything, so you can choose how much you want to go deep. Yes.
I wanted just also sort of feedback to what you said. I realized there was one thing you said about when you breathe from down here and not from here, and that really impacted the whole. I think for me that was the whole thing that I took from that session. So I didn't read the text, or I felt that gave me so much information, and since then I've been thinking, wow, outside in my normal life I'm breathing so much here and not from here, and that became very overwhelming, and thinking of how many practices do I have if I'm breathing and the asana and the reading, and actually I'm not even breathing.
Yeah.
So that was, and I think I really enjoyed that in the setting, that it's sometimes just one thing someone says by chance, and then that is the whole thing to take from it. So,
It happened also that sometimes we say that many times, and many times to the same student, but sometimes the student is still not prepared to understand that. So it happens to me thousands of times. I say something to a student, the student got this glimpse of, oh, I got it. Thank you. First time you're telling me this. Yeah. So students need to be prepared to.
No, but for us it's the same. Like we read, we go through some things that we study or we read, and it's like, no one ever told me this before. And it's like, I'm sure they told me, but I didn't listen.
It's also because you described it, it's such a detailed now, like you measure that point, you measure how it rises from it, and that also affects the way I breathe now and the practice.
Nice.
Yeah, for me the bandhas had something unlocked, because also I think the way you explained the Mula Bandha, I think it was the first time like I got the beginning of the engagement, and I'm starting to feel it in the practice also, because I felt every time I would release Uddiyana, I would also release Mula. Like, how does this work? And then somehow I feel something there click, and it changed a lot the practice. Kind of introduced softness that I didn't know before.
Oh, nice.
That's nice. It's nice, and it's also nice to hear that you're learning something here. Yeah, because it meant for this. And so I think it's
And
good.
also the idea is that I understand that sometimes I can like give a lot of information or a lot of text, but on the other hand, it's we can grow our ability to kind of take, for example, like when we focus, for example, at the beginning, like I realize when I get tired in my practice, and it's like, oh no, like I lost my focus, I'm tired. This I noticed, like I'm tired, and then I try to practice that, you know, like kind of like lengthening or increasing my capacity to hold focus. And the same with reading a book, you know, and I think it's like, it's insane that we are talking about this, but it's like we lost the ability to read books. It's like to a whole page without having to grab the phone, without, you know, it's like this, because I think that 10 years from now, we're going to look back and we're going to look and it's going to be like how we went through that, because I can't think that this is going to go on like this situation with how they are mining our focus is insane.
Yeah, definitely it gets a bit more harder. I would also, I think 2000 years ago, maybe they have other issues and they were struggling with other stuff. But maybe getting so much input nowadays from so different sides, flanks, and we really need to work on the drishti, because it's a lot.
Yeah. Well, something else? No? Good. So we're going to continue today with the philosophical traditions from India. So the philosophical traditions in India are called Darshanas. And Darsha means to look, to search. It comes from the root drash. So what I like about this is like opposed to the Western philosophies that we kind of think everything. This is something that is more an action of looking, you know, of searching, of contemplation could be as well. You know, it's not something that is, how do you say in English, like a lucrative? I think so, yeah. So darshanas, it's the way that it doesn't translate exactly as philosophy. It translates also as schools of thought or ways of. It's like it's ways there are different ways to see the world, how everything around us function, how everything around us is. So, and they are deeply moved by the question of who we are, who am I, what do we do here, what's the purpose of this, what happens when we die. So, and the main purpose of darshana is trying to find out how to eliminate suffering, how to reduce and uproot the total destruction of suffering. This is like the main purpose of darshanas, of mostly all of them, and pursue total bliss, absence, which total bliss means absence of suffering. Also, we can say that they pursue moksha, it's called, which is total liberation. So all of them are pursuing moksha, and when we say moksha as liberation, what are we talking about? Liberation from what? What do you think?
Samsara?
And what do you mean with samsara?
Suffering?
Wide perception is like cycle of rebirth,
Mm-hmm.
but in perception of like one life, it's like cycle of my automatic actions.
Mm.
More being in the now rather than just reflective action.
It's like that. It's like the bondage, it's what keep us bonded. It's so they all have that in common, and also what they have in common is that they are all practically oriented. They all have like a part that is abhyasa or sadhana, in contrast with the West. So
They have a method, all of them.
so in the darshanas they are considered that if you are not searching for moksha, you are wasting the opportunity you got of a human life. So one of the first requirements of being able to get moksha is having incarnated in a human life. There are some cases of other kind of shivas, of other kind of beings being enlightened, but usually it has to have come of a human being. So when we talk about bondage, we talk about the bondage of birth and death, of the cycle of being born and dying, and also the conditioning of the mind and the emotions, the bondage of the body and the mind. We're going to talk about that when first we're going to go briefly through the main darshanas, and then we're going to explain a little bit more what are we talking about when we talk about the Brahmanas. So another thing is like another thing that it's kind of important is that they all also have in common that they believe in a moral order, like something that's called rita, harmony. They believe in that, and
the knowledge is that they all believe that if you manage to remove ignorance,
which is called avidya.
It's the knowledge will liberate you. You have to understand that there is a root. There's this avidya.
So they all have
these darshanas all share this.
Yes.
We're saying now what we were sharing, all the
So-
darshanas.
So jnana, which is knowledge, is like kind of the tool to remove avidya, which is the source of bondage. Yes, Zora.
I sometimes struggle with understanding the liberation from suffering in terms of like pleasure and pain are somehow like the same in a context. So if there's no, if I'm liberated from suffering, am I also then liberated also from the things that I think are pleasure? I think sometimes I'm not fully like I think, liberation from suffering seems almost like, or I don't know if that makes sense, but this attainment of happiness, I don't think I understand what that happiness is.
Because it's like there are two different kind of happiness. The happiness we are more used to in the West is like the happiness, like the exultant happiness. And when we talk about, this is why I said bliss, because it's different from where it's sourced. Bliss is from within. So one of the things that we have to overcome is the idea that external objects give us happiness
Internal happiness.
or pain. So then when everything, like my capacity, like joy is within me. And I can tap into it without having to use something to, this is why, for example, in the practice we talked about like eventually I let go of the cues.
There are some, the suffering, you might have pain with something that the other person doesn't have pain with that. So kind of pain could be there and kind of suffering could be an option, depending the person who you are. Yeah, depending what are you observing from the situation. Probably what your mind or what you are perceiving from that. You could convert that in suffering or not. Yeah, so it's...
And I think it's a good exercise when we start looking into, for example, I keep bringing examples with my daughters because they're huge teachers for me. But for example, like having two daughters, what I learned from that is that they both show me how I am capable of mothering in two different ways. And it's something that's within me. And it heals me in a sense. Because it opens up like a different world for me. Like I'm not so bound of how I am with one. Because I'm not fully determined. I don't feel like, because when I switch to other daughter, then I'm a different kind of mother. And then it's like, okay, so but this is within me. You know?
Now I think that in the sense that the suffering, it's a liberation from the suffering external and also from the dependence to happiness that's external, because you get it from inside, like what you're saying, you're getting that feeling inside you, and it's not from the outside that you're getting it, but from the... Okay, I think I'm understanding, thanks.
I think
I didn't got that one.
no, I think it's more like the what Matthias said at the beginning, it's like you have pain and then you have suffering, which are two different things. It's like pain is there, suffering is optional.
Okay.
It's like the freedom, if you're gonna get the freedom, the liberation, the kaivalya, the enlightenment, or the whatever you want to call it, it's gonna be an internal state. It's not gonna be something you grab from the outside.
Exactly, it's not something that you can get.
There is no way you can buy the happiness. No way. Yeah, you're gonna have to bring it from the inside.
It's like there's this example that I really like, that it's like, for example, if you are looking for your glasses all the time you're looking for your glasses in all the room, and then you go around looking for your glasses, you can't find them, blah, blah, and then you go and start reading, and then you notice that you were wearing your glasses. They were already all the time there. So this is something like this. It's a kind of unveiling or unbecoming. Yeah.
What would be considered as darshanas?
Darsanas is what?
The philosophies, it's the traditions in India. What I talked about at the beginning, it's like darshanas. It's how it's called in India, the schools of thought. Like we're gonna go through them now. It's like they're different, like kind of traditions, and they have like different views of the world, of the universe, how it works. They have different visions of who we are, what we came here to do, what's the purpose of life.
So it's really just philosophical in itself.
What do you mean?
Like it's not, like for example, asana wouldn't be considered a darshana.
It's part of an ashana, of a darshana. Yeah, it's part of a darshana. The practical part.
Yeah, and asana could be inside the darshana or not. Yeah, because some darshanas they might not have asana practices. But
it's not like a practice.
No.
They do have a practice. Like that's the difference with the Western idea of philosophy. They do have like attainment of knowledge. Most of the times, and not every of them, most of the time is like by experience, is practical. You know, they have. Yes, they
But
do have a practice. It's profoundly based in practice. Like for example, Buddhism or yoga.
there is it's not that you said I'm gonna do darshan. Yeah, and it's not like that. It's not I'm gonna do asana. Yeah, but
It's like
the
a framework.
darshanas. They have inside a method, and that method might have or not asana, for example, or different kind of practices. So, and when we talk about these Indian philosophical traditions, there are many schools of thought, that emerge in India. It's like a vast landscape, and they spent centuries exploring about the nature of the reality, about the consciousness, the knowledge, the ethics, and even the liberation. So in the classical way of mapping this landscape is by dividing them in two categories. There are those who accept, we call it Āstika, and those who don't accept, we call it Nāstika. And what do you think we are talking about? What accept? It's those who accept the authority of the Vedas.
Remember that last session we were talking about, we started with what the Vedas was, where.
They accept this.
What? Sorry? Huh? No, Vedas, it's like this.
What they accept and don't accept.
The authority of the Vedas.
As a valid source of knowledge.
As a
They
valid
said
yes.
this, we accept this valid source of knowledge. Yeah, and of course there are some schools, because they are like the main schools, let's call it as there are like 6 the Ṣaḍ Darśanas, there are the Āstikas, the 6 ones who accept them, and there are the other 3 ones, there are many of course, but there are these other 3 ones that don't accept them.
Sorry, I understand your question now. No, it's not about the oneness or not the oneness. Sankhya is dualism. So, and it's also based on the Vedas. Okay? So Vedanta, it is oneness. But no, it's not that division.
So, I will just now name the 6 ones who accept the Vedas are the Nyaya, the Vaisheshika, the Samkhya, the Yoga, the Mimamsa, and the Vedanta. And those who do not accept the Vedas, the Nāstika, is Buddhism, Jainism, and Charvaka.
The
it's
three-
not
the-
Asuri and the Darśanas.
These three, the ones that are not, that don't take the Vedas as a source of knowledge, they have in common that they don't have an idea of God. So this is kind of complex because in the Āstikas, there's no an idea. They are also not in every of them are an idea of God. But in these three, it is like this, and it's not like what they have in common, but they do have this in common. So they're realistic in the sense of they only believe in what they can perceive.
With the eyes.
With the senses, yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
That reminds me of the tantric philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
And where would that fit in?
No, that comes next session because this is more related to the Hatha Yoga, and we're gonna cover the tantric approach next session. Okay. So the Buddhist, for example, there's also no idea, no sense of self with the Buddhist. There is only this sense of continuation. There is no sense of reincarnation, of soul.
It's not that one.
Yeah, but Sankhya also doesn't have a God, doesn't believe in God. No, Sankhya doesn't have Brahman. That's the difference with yoga and Vedanta. They don't. Like yoga has Ishvara, but it's based on Sankhya that doesn't have any God. Sankhya.
Yeah. In yoga, could be seen as a god or not. Also, it doesn't mean yoga has a god. Also,
it has Ishvara, but it's but Sankhya doesn't have a god. That's like the difference between yoga and Sankhya is that yoga introduces the concept of Ishvara. Yoga uses the whole framework, the philosophy of Sankhya, and adds up the Ishvara Pranidhanatva. Like the option of being devoted to Ishvara is also a mean to get enlightened, which doesn't exist in Sankhya. Well, okay. Yeah.
So then I will start describing a bit the Ṣaḍ Darśanas, the one who approved the authority of the Vedas, the one to accept. I will start with Nyaya. That this Nyaya would be like a path, we could call it a clear reasoning. Because from all the entire Indian philosophical landscape, from all this school of thought from India, this one is the most rigorously critical thinking oriented. It's like they want to know how you know what you know. Yeah, and they will bring the epistemology, I will talk about that later. For them, liberation is not about sitting hours in lotus waiting for enlightenment. It's more about understanding reality. Without mistakes, ignorance is the suffering, and the remedy would be the correct knowledge.
So there's one thing that also it can also refer to, because it comes from the idea of this philosophy, it can also be pointing out to, for example, like when we talk about these images of taking one thing for the other, like for example, when we talk about having seen a rope, and taking it for being a snake. These kind of images, they are called Nyaya as well. There are different. There are several examples in the Indian thought that they are called Nyaya.
A typical example of the rope perception and seeing the rope as a snake. Yeah, but I was saying the core idea of this darshana, nyaya, is that ignorance is suffering. Yeah, usually they start with the suffering. All these darshanas start with this idea of suffering. And the remedy, as I said, is the correct knowledge. And the thing is, for this darshana, how do you get that correct knowledge? Through a method. Yeah, we were saying before, all the darshanas, they have a different methods. The method for them, the method was quite precise and technically, mainly from this time that we are talking about. Yeah? And it was called the four valid means of knowledge, the pramanas. And the four pramanas, maybe someone who's the sutras,
The sutra, remember
they
pramana.
might ring a bell or something, because in the sixth sutra, I don't know, I think it's the sixth one, they also talk about pramanas. It's the direct perception, this pratyaksha, the inference, anumana, the comparison, upamana, and the testimony, shabda. And yeah, I don't want to go deeper in that because we're gonna still talk about other darshanas, but it's
So,
quite.
for example, like comparing it to Charvaka, that we talked about at the beginning, that Charvaka is more materialistic. Charvaka, for example, like doesn't use inference. For example, it only uses perception. Okay.
Inference would be typical.
Some kind of logic.
You see smoke, so you probably there is a fire in some place there. Yeah, that's not pratyaksha. Direct perception is I see the fire. Yeah, I see the smoke. I cannot say there is a fire, but I see the fire. There is a fire. Anumana inference is there is smoke. It might be a fire there. The comparison of upamana would be more like I don't know how fire looks like, but someone told me it's like that and like that and like that. If I see it, I can compare with what I heard about it, and that would be the third step, or the four mean to get the knowledge. And the last testimony is the same as in the sutras, and it's like someone with authority told you there is fire there, so you just believe it's fire there. Yeah, if you say like that, fire is there. Yeah, it's the testimony.
So here in the notes you can see like with a nyaya, Āstika, and then the third is the authority, the person who is considered the authority of every philosophy, of every darshana.
Yeah.
So there, something we didn't say is like this that Matthias is mentioning now is when you hear about the Ṣaḍ Darśanas, these six darshanas, Ṣaḍ Darśanas are like the most traditional ones, the most common ones, okay, and the ones who take the Vedas as the source of knowledge.
Yeah, always when we're gonna talk about the Indian school of thought, these darshanas, there are six darshanas. Yeah, the one is Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Samkhya, Yoga, Mimamsa, and Vedanta. These are the most important, and these are the Āstika, the one approved by the one who approved the Vedas. So
and they also kind of they have like this. They are pair, and they work kind of. One is more theoretical, and the other one it's the one that is more applied, kind of. Okay. For Samkhya and Yoga.
No, porque yo estoy en Nyaya.
Okay.
En Vaisheshika.
Okay, got it.
So Nyaya tried to free the human beings from the mistaken ideas about reality. Yeah, They say, okay, the human, they do this mistake about the reality, so we need to free them with that. And for them, actually, this misinterpretation of the word would be the true source of suffering. So, for them, the laboratory of this was the mind. And the tool to get rid from get rid from the suffering was the logic. So Nyaya introduced this rigorous analysis or logical analysis into a culture, yeah, because this culture was dominated mainly by meditation, ritualism, intuition. It was not something like so logical. So this was the first school who brought that. And this it deeply influenced to other schools like Vedanta, Buddhism, and of course yoga, the classic school of yoga. So
Sankhya Yoga.
ya vamos. No, pero fue Āstika, voy a entrar con Āstika. ¿Querés decir Sankhya primero? Sí, si querés.
No, está bien, no, terminamos con Āstika.
Igual todavía no estoy. So as I said, it was the first attempt to build an epistemology. That means how we know what we know. Yeah, this is the question that they usually do. And for Nyaya, only meditation was not enough. The liberation comes when you dismantle this cognitive error that distorts your perception. Yeah, this is what we're doing on this four means of knowledge. Yeah, this logical way. They say, okay, there is an error in the way you look, you perceive the world, the way you perceive the self, the way you perceive the divine. So for them to be free was to see clearly and to, of course, think correctly. ¿Querés arrancar con Sankhya? Después yo junto a Āstika.
No,
¿O querés que dé yo Sankhya?
No, hacerlo vos, sí.
So,
Bueno, quería un poco más de plata, porque está un poco aburrido.
well, okay. The second school is Vaisheshika, and this school is more focused on the science of the being and of the particles. This was the most scientific of the six schools. They were obsessed with breaking reality down into these fundamental components. Everything was like components and particles for them. When Nyaya was asking how do we know that we know, Vaisheshika was what is everything made of. Yeah, that was important for that school. So the core idea was that the world is made up by fundamental categories. These are called padarthas.
This is something that Sankhya is gonna use as well.
So for them, if you understand the padarthas, then you can understand the structure of the cosmos. And if you understand the cosmos, then you can understand your place within it. And this will eventually open the doors of your liberation. That was the way they think, the way they think how it works, the liberation for them. So then Vaisheshika teaches that the correct knowledge of the universe purifies the mind. And which are these blocks of the universe are the seven padarthas. And I'm gonna name them now, the seven padarthas, but we're not gonna go deep into that, yeah, because it's... It's the substance, the quality, substance as the things of the world, the quality is the color, emotion, pleasure, the action, the karma, the movement, the change. The fourth is the generality, what things they have in common, how you can group them. The fifth one is the particularity. It's what makes them a unique entity. The sixth padartha was the inherence. It's like the invisible glue that stick gunas and substance. And the last one was the non-existence. What is not there, but it's still there. Yeah, it is a lot of that in philosophy. Yeah, that we talk about the vacuum, the nothing. Sorry, I'm trying too fast, yeah, because it's a lot in a second. Yeah. There is a Vaisheshika, the second school, and Nyaya, the first school. Of course, they began as a separated school, but eventually they merged. And Nyaya was, of course, contributing the logic that we talked before, and Vaisheshika was contributing the ontology. According to Vaisheshika, liberation doesn't come from hours of meditation or elaborating rituals, performing rituals. It comes more from knowing reality as it truly is. They say, when you understand the ultimate nature of existence, then the mind loosens the grip of suffering. Yeah, and you reach liberation. Yeah, so these two schools that we are seeing right now, they work a lot with logic, they work a lot with components, with particles, with understanding the universe. Yeah, that understanding the things. Yeah, it's totally different to other schools. Yeah, they were putting here the emphasis on those things. Good. This is Vaisheshika. The third school, Samkhya. Samkhya is like this cosmic map of consciousness and matter. This was Kapila who created Samkhya, or who was attributed to the Samkhya philosophy.
And one of the things is, for example, like Darshana has, like the way they had to kind of systemize all the philosophy, it was through sutras, okay? Because they are all based on the Vedas, but then they would systematize and do these like short aphorisms and chain them together, thread them together, and there you can find the Brahma Sutra for Vedanta, the Yoga Sutra for yoga, and with Sankhya, this is what I wanted to say. With Sankhya, there are no sutras found, so there were, but now we work with a text that is called the Sankhya Karika. That's the main text from the Sankhya. It doesn't have a sutra form.
The Sankhya is one of the oldest and most influential system from the six Darsanas. The yoga, the classical yoga, the yoga we know, it rests entirely on the framework of the Samkhya. For the Samkhya, and for the yoga too, later we're gonna say it, reality has like two basic ingredients. It's
dualistic.
It's dualistic, yeah. It's pure consciousness or purusha, and primordial matter or prakriti.
We're gonna take a deeper look. No, next time it's gonna be Sankhya and Yoga, I think, and then next time is Hatha Yoga, Pradipika, and the Tantras. But so next time we're gonna go deeper into what Sankhya and Yoga is. But for now, I think it's enough to understand that it's dualistic and it's based on these two concepts of Purusha and Prakriti. Being Prakriti, all matter, and everything is included, like what we think that is physical matter, and thoughts, emotions, vibrations, that is also Prakriti.
Energy, time, everything what moves, it's Prakriti.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and everything what is formless, without qualities or action, is Purusha. Purusha is the witness. Yeah, and this is the big thing is Purusha never change. Yeah, and Prakriti, of course, never stop changing. It's always changing, Prakriti. So, and Samkhya claims that everything that exists can be mapped. And they have these 24 tattvas that we're going to see in the next class. And these tattvas describe how consciousness becomes entangled.
Yeah, it says 25 here, but it's 24.
24.
Yeah, I don't know why it's 25. It's 24.
How consciousness becomes entangled with matter. Yeah. And that we will see in the next class. We're not going to go deep on that today.
But with Sankhya, like the concepts of gunas, like arises. So we're gonna go deeper.
For Samkhya, the existential problems is that Purusha mistake itself for Prakriti. That means that the consciousness identifies with the body, with the mind, with the thoughts. Yeah, imagine you are Purusha, and why you're suffering? Because you get identified with that. With a role, with a job, with a thought, with an emotion, and then you suffer. So what is saying that you are Purusha. You are the witness. Yeah, this is the main, or the existential problem, how they call it. And this misidentification is the one creating suffering. I said all this already.
Yoga?
Yeah, yoga. So we move forward to the fourth school. This is basically the school, the yoga school. Of course, you know some part of the school, yeah, because you practice for sure one anga, one step of the school. It's called the science of mind and action. Why? Because if Samkhya gives you the map, yoga gives you the method. Samkhya was saying consciousness is fundamentally they are different from matter, and the yoga say, okay, great. Now we need to train our mind so we can realize that, to realize the Purusha is different from Prakriti. Yeah, so what we do with this school is we learn how to train the mind. Yeah, this is the most important in this school, actually. Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha, that you might heard, this is like the most known sutra of the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. This is one saying you are going to be in a state of yoga when you manage to stop the frequency of the mind or the ondulation of the vrittis. And the root of suffering for this school is because the mind is untrained. So it's because it identifies with everything or operates in autopilot. Yeah, we do things in this, as you might notice, they have a lot of things in common with Samkhya, because, as I said it before, yoga took the whole Samkhya framework, yeah, but they said, okay, let's put a method to this. So, and
Mimamsa.
one second, we go to Mimamsa. Yeah. When mind is not regulator, of course, that brings more suffering, confusion. And then I start to believe I am my fears, I am my anxiety, or I am my past, whatever past in my life, I am that. Yeah, and Patanjali offers, or yoga, the yoga school offers this master plan, the 8 limbs, that we're gonna talk next class. I believe you know the 8 limbs. There's Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi. Yeah, that would be the master plan to remove the suffering.
And the last 2 schools are Mimamsa, Purva Mimamsa and Uttara Mimamsa. Uttara Mimamsa, it's what we call Vedanta. So, and they are both related to the Vedas and the ritualistic part of the Vedas. They both deal with the proper performance of rituals in the case of Purva Mimamsa, and then with the nature of reality, ultimate reality that we are. So Vedanta, we can say that Vedanta is the school the school that nowadays is like the biggest, and it's the one that it's they're also called schools because they have like people who are kind of adherents or practitioners of these schools of thoughts, of these darshanas. They practice this, you know, like Buddhism. Maybe with Buddhism it's more clear because we have practicants of Buddhism. And with
all the schools, they looks like this happened many thousand years ago, and it looks like old. But I say there are people following the schools. Yeah, it's not we are. Of course, we are. It doesn't. Yoga is not the only school in India. Yeah. So Mimamsa asks you to act. It
was very conservative in the sense of was in charge of like protecting the rituals of the Vedas and how and this is like the main difference with Uttara Mimamsa, with Vedanta, and mainly with Advaita Vedanta, that one of its main texts, Viveka Chamundi, it says that it doesn't depend on you can perform as many rituals as you want, or recite as many mantras as you want, but that is not gonna get you enlightened.
It's Purva Mimamsa? Has this been...
Advaita Vedanta. Yeah. I mean, it's like you have to perform your rituals, it's gonna take you there. And this is the difference with Purva Mimamsa. Mimamsa specifically heightens the importance of rituals.
Yeah, for Mimamsa, it's about, it's not what is reality or who am I in essence, it's more like what action must I perform to live in harmony with the universe. It's not what you think or what you feel for them, it's more what you do. And this is where it comes all this ritual, all this...
So to sum up, what I would say is that we have like these 2 big groups of darshanas, Āstika and Nāstika, and they differentiate if if they take or not take, if they are orthodox in the sense of they use the Vedas as a corpus, as a valid corpus of text, as a source of knowledge. Okay, this is Āstika. Nāstika, they don't. Okay, Nāstika are this Charvaka, Buddhism and Jainism. Okay, then the Āstikas are what we traditionally call the Ṣaḍ Darśanas, and they are subdivided. Mostly, they are paired in pairs. Three groups of pairs.
They are divided in 3 pairs.
Yes. So,
Nyaya
and we have
Vaisheshika.
Nyaya Vaisheshika, they are the most, like they are the logical ones, and the atomism.
They were the Sankhya in yoga. They are, one brings the theory, the other brings the practice.
Mm-hmm. And then we have the Mimamsa, which is very much related to the Vedas. One is ritualistic in nature, which is the Purva Mimamsa, and the Uttara Mimamsa, which is the Vedanta. And we're gonna dive deeper into what Vedanta is. The last thing, as I said before, all of these darshanas, they have they systematize their corpus of knowledge in sutras, and they were also so people could memorize and have all the concepts at hand. This was the purpose of the sutras, and this is why sutras are memorized traditionally, because there were also a lot of exchange between these schools of thought. So maybe what you learned in Greece, it was the same. So here it was the same. There was a lot of debate. So people had to have at hand every concept, and they did that through this memorization of all the sutras. From there, it developed the notion of Bhashya. Bhashya is the commentary on the sutras. And many people use Bhashya to pronounce themselves on things that they didn't want to say themselves. So they could disguise it under a commentary on a sutra. Okay? I think that we talked about this when we were talking about colonialism. I don't know if we talked this last session or in the class of colonialism. The risk of interpretation. Yeah. So with the commentaries, one has to be careful in that sense, because it was traditional back then to pronounce yourself sometimes through a commentary, through Bhashya. Yeah.
The names written next to next to Sankhya or Yoga,
Mm-hmm.
are the people who...
Yes, the reference in every discipline, every darshana. So Patanjali is the one in yoga, Kapila is the one in Sankhya, and so on. Buddha in Buddhism.
And Gautama in Nyaya is different than Buddha?
Yeah.
Yes, no,
yeah,
it's not.
It's not
Yes.
Gautama, the one.
Yes.
This
No,
is
for example, also Vashya is another name that is repeated everywhere. There are so many Vashyas in India.
Okay, Vedanta.
Mm-hmm.
So Vedanta would be the culmination of the entire Vedic tradition. It's Vedanta, it's like the end or the culmination of knowledge, would be translated. And the core idea of this is there is only one reality, and that reality is Brahman. And Brahman is not a god, it's not an energy.
So this is important because maybe you have heard of Brahma, and it's not the same thing. Okay, Brahman, it's not a god, it's not a deity. Okay, it's not a deva, and we have this trinity of Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. And this is like, there are like ways of talking about Brahman. But Brahman doesn't have any depiction, okay? Doesn't have any...
Brahman is like the absolute reality. It's beyond all forms. It's infinite, without attribute, without beginning or end. It's pure consciousness. And the most explosive insight thought is that they said Atman is Brahman. And Atman is your deepest self, actually.
Estoy
avanzando demasiado.
Sí, sí.
Okay, I'm going to
No, we're going to stay a little bit with Brahman. So Brahman is what we were talking before about, like bliss. You know, Brahman is something that is like the purpose of, when we were talking about like the purpose of Darshanas, it was like getting to know Brahman. Brahman is like that, the ultimate reality. It's something that it doesn't have any beginning, any end. It doesn't, it's like, I like to, the other day I saw something written that I really liked, and it made me think about Brahman. That it's we invented time, money and God. And Brahma is beyond that. It's beyond creation, it's beyond beginnings, it's beyond destruction. And it's something that we cannot grasp with our minds because of our limitation and conditioning. And in order to understand what Brahman is, we need to cover like other concepts, like Maya or Atman. So the idea is that when we identify ourselves, this is what it's called a jiva. A jiva is like a unit, like a being. Which is different from what Atman is, because Brahman is the whole nature, and Atman is like a momentarily, is everything of these concepts are concepts that are kind of tricky because they are not, they look like they are. So they are very tricky in that sense, because like we need to talk about everything at the same time, I find. But Maya, for example, is the creative power of Brahman. And the creative power of Brahman means it looks like there is a reality that is outside, that is called Maya. When we with the time, space, with our container that's called Upadhi, with our body, and we are identified as an ego, when we develop this sense of I.
When we develop the illusion of separation, that's Maya.
When we believe, when we are trapped in this idea of being born and dying, as you said, samsara, this is Maya. Maya is the illusion, is the veil, like the ignorance that...
when disappearance, this duality, the good, bad, or this, all this appearance of duality. Yeah, for them that's Maya, because for them there is only one reality, and that's Brahman. And Maya is bringing all this veil over Brahman, and that's Maya is not allowing you to see that your Atman, it's Brahman actually. So this Maya, it's
So one thing, so it's the ultimate reality. There's no beginning, no end. And then we have Atman. Atman is like it looks temporarily, sorry. It looks like individualized. Okay?
the deepest self.
Yeah. It's like Brahman temporarily looks individualized. And then we have Jiva, which is this Atman identified with an ego. Okay?
Jiva would be like a reflection of Atman.
It's also Brahman. So I wouldn't say reflection because that's the thing with Brahman. It's like with Vedanta, with Advaita Vedanta, is we need to understand that the reality that we are Brahman. So it's all this is it's monism in the sense of there is only one reality and there are no divisions.
You are
So-
not part of it. You are not like
A mirror
It's
or
not-
part of like. But
Atman is
you
not
are that.
apart from Brahman. Atman is Brahman. It's like
My question is about Jiva and Atman.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Jiva is identified. Atman is not identified.
So Jiva would be a reflection of Atman.
It's an identification. Identification.
I heard that Jiva might be very similar to West idea of soul. Is it right? Like in Christendom we have soul, like Jiva, it might be like a soul in the West idea. Could it be compared this way?
I couldn't say that. I don't know.
I don't know. I find it risky to kind of compare.
This you might notice this is not an easy topic. No, not even for us. It's super difficult. I mean, it's and we are not going deep on any of these schools. Yeah, we are touching them only surface. Yeah, we are just because you need this map for moving forward to the next classes.
Because also a Jiva, it's like the soul. You have the idea of transmigration. With Jiva is identified with the qualities of a being. So Jiva is identified with Upadhi. Upadhi is the container, the physical container. The body, you could say. But it's not only the physical body, because there are also like, you have like energetical, causal, emotional bodies. The shariras, that were sessions. When we talk about Hatha Yoga, we're going to cover shariras. And so Upadhi is the body-mind container. And Jiva is like the being that's identified with Upadhi.
And Atman.
Atman is like a Jiva, but not identified. Which is Brahman. Exactly. But I think that when Brahman is the ultimate, Brahman is everything. That's the thing, because every talk ends up, it's like, you are that. You are that. Which is like, all is Brahman. But when the identification begins, then everything starts compartmenting and subdividing. But this is Maya. This is the mechanism of identification creates when you identify with this, starts creating, and then Nama Rupa becomes in place, which is names and forms. Nama Rupa. And this is the work of dismantling these subdivisions, which, for example, like in physics, it's been demonstrated that there are no divisions, there is no limit, it's only like kind of, and there's no space, no time. This is like scientifically. But it's our mind. This is why I say like we have invented time, money, and God.
And is Maya illusion?
Maya is illusion. It's like it's the creative power of Brahman, and it's like it's this superimposition. It's like this nama rupa that we start dividing things, and then it's like it's avidya. It's the result of avidya.
Maya is the reason you cannot see Brahman. Maya is the like projects, and this projection that the Maya is it's not. It's kind of it's not Maya is not false. It's not fake, or it's not. It's like what it's our everyday experience. It's why man can you not see yourself as Brahman? It's because of Maya.
But it's not illusion in the sense that it's not real.
Sorry?
No, Maya is there. It's part of the. It's part of the game. Let's call it.
There's no spoon.
You can bend the spoon.
It's like actually like the work of this is very much into this direction. It's like that Ramana Maharshi was one of the also from Advaita Vedanta, and he used to say that like there is a question that is how should we treat others, and he replied there are no others. So in that sense you could say like others are a reflection, but I find it tricky because reflection means that there is one thing and there is another thing, and there's no reflection. There's no like one source and then the image that is reflected. I think that image you can use it more with Purusha and Prakriti, the image of the mirror and the reflection. But with Brahman and Atman, Jiva and Maya, I think it's like the covering veil.
It would be like ego and intellect.
No. No, that is Prakriti. No, that is Prakriti. Ego and intellect. No, that's part of
That's
manas. No, that's another subject.
We shift from schools.
No, like mind, ego and intellect are like those different functions of the mind. No, it's...
Sort of.
I have a question in terms of, because it's sometimes when you also like thinking about it and talking about it is one thing, but I wonder how would you apply these concepts, like if you meditate, do you like meditate on the concept of jiva or meditate on maya, or how do you feel like a way that we to take these ideas and apply them somehow? Because even though I also like talking about it, there's something very interesting and stimulating somehow. But I'm also wondering, is there a way I can include?
I wanted to... There is a practice that I wanted to do at the end that is called... that is called Vedantic pranayama. And it's, of course, because all of these things, they have a practice part, because, I mean, intellectually, it's like...
Sometimes it's hard intellectually.
It's super hard intellectually, yeah. This is why we said, like, Brahman is not something that you can grasp intellectually with your mind, because your mind is limited and has, like, these concepts of time, space, and namarupa limitations like shapes, and that's the work of the mind, subdividing things in atoms that it can add up and play with these things, but it cannot like have you seen this film Everything Everywhere at the Same Time? It's kind of yeah.
So it's funny you say, because that's how I was feeling too. I was like, oh, the words, and I know the words, and I'm connecting, and it makes sense. But then you look at it again, and I'm completely...
Yeah, we need to kind of, because of the nature of our mind, we need names to discuss things. But the other day I was practicing on Wednesday, and I remember my teacher, for example, Ṣaḍ, when he was in the old shala, in the small shala, I remember he used to come for conferences and he used to sit there and wouldn't talk for 20 minutes or something like that. And I remember being like kind of uncomfortable because I was like, he would sit there and say nothing. And you could see him like looking at the watch and looking at all of us. And you could see how bothered he was when someone would finally bring up a question. Because he used to enjoy, like he was so okay with not discussing things, you know. And I remember that I had this, I'm bringing this because I find that in the Indian way of teaching there's like so much silence involved. And this doesn't mean that things are not discussed, but this means that they invite us to kind of turn off one side of our intellect, of our way of learning, to turn on other things, you know? So I remember for me like sitting there and like being uncomfortable, you know, and then it's like, and with the years went by, I started to enjoy those moments, you know, where all of us were just sitting there, just sitting there sharing silence, you know, and because I don't know if it's because I'm growing old now, but now I started to feel kind of every time like I want to say something, like I don't find the purpose of it, you know. Sometimes I find that it adds more confusion to things. It doesn't add up. So, and many times also I had questions with him, and I remember I wasn't there to present the question, and then he would answer my question while he was answering other person's question. I
remember it, yeah. For me it was the same. I was there sitting and he's okay, now questions. And I was saying, oh, I might have 1,000 questions. And then I started to think, let's just think one, like the most important question you can ask Ṣaḍ right now. They were disappearing, the questions. I was answering the questions by myself, because it was like if they're there to ask them questions, but in that moment, all the questions were going away. I don't know, I was more clear. I was feel like if he were inspiring me, something that I was seeing more clearly, and the questions related to the practice or to the spiritual life or practice, kids or whatever it was, if I start to grab a bit and try to dig a bit I was answering my question by myself, so I didn't see it doesn't make sense if I already kind of know the answer. I'm gonna ask something that it's already clear for me.
Or just the feeling of being okay with doubt, you know, like with uncertainty. It's like, I know this is really not important. like this feeling of, I remember I don't know, after backbending, I remember specifically my last season with him, I was about to kind of being able to do something and I didn't know exactly how to, and I remember coming up from backbending and wanting to ask how could I do that, and then like that feeling like instantly dropping. And kind of resting in that sensation of this reassuring feeling of, it's gonna come. You know? Like, I mean, there's tomorrow's practice. I can look again tomorrow, you know, like, so, and I think that in that sense, we can, when we refrain from, and I'm telling by experience, I was like very curious and driven, you know, like how I started to find solace in that. Do you say solace? Solace, thank you. It's not solace. To find solace in this kind of feeling of like being okay with things, you know, like, and finding some relief from this drivenness.
Yeah, maybe we don't need
this
to.
Restlessness.
Maybe we don't need to respond all the questions and get all the answers. Maybe if you stay a bit there in silence, maybe it's coming by itself. And it's also, I feel something too Western, or from our Western minds to go to ChatGPT and get all the answers. Yeah, and it's like, come on, just stay with that and try to.
And I think that all these practices invite us to stay with things, you know, stay with this, like what's moving the issue, you know, like, for example, when, I don't know, we go snacking in the kitchen, okay, if we stop ourselves there, you know, like, okay, what am I covering here? With the snacking, or the grabbing the phone, you know, or the fidgeting in the asana, what am I not wanting to go there, you know, like, because it's difficult to stay with things. And this is what I talked at the beginning, you know, like, I find that with these practices we grow our capacity to hold more, you know. I think it's not a matter of stretching things, like I'm something, right? Like, I don't know, when my second daughter was born, I felt like my heart doubled in size. So I could hold more rather than dividing what was already there. So with these practices, I find that we can stretch our capacity to take more in. Yes.
Should we go to karma?
Yes. So, karma. So karma is like, is what keeps us bound. You know, it's like karma is action. So the nature of acting bonded to the cycle of birth, death, to suffering.
The samsara code.
Yeah. So here you can, because I want to finish on time, you can read types of karmas, but basically they are divided in past actions, like the past karma, the present conditions, and the actions, the karma that is to come. Okay? So the sanchita is the past karma. Okay.
That karma, it's always when you, or as long as you're gonna be acting from ignorance, from avidya, karma is gonna be always there. Yeah, it's you're gonna keep being in this samsara, in this cycle of birth and death.
So,
yeah, so
sanchita is like the past actions. It's like it's trauma, karma, which could be the same. But and this is what it's gonna define, like it's money already spent. It's what's gonna define the place of your birth, the body, the conditions in where you're gonna take birth. Prarabdha is the present conditions.
So,
See?
so one thing I want to go to the general idea of karma, because it was we are classifying around. It's like karma means action, and as I said, that action, if it comes from ignorance, you stay there, But if that action comes from self-knowledge or from awareness, if you not react, if that action is something that you decide, you might manage to create or dissolve this karma into wisdom. This is the idea that usually we see karma as action and consequence. I do this for this, I do this for that. This action creates this consequence. But the important here for me would be like this action from where it comes. From every time you do an action, it's gonna create a consequence. And it's important the way you create that action. From which
source, or which motor,
which
intention.
The motto, which motor, or which intention. The intention. This is for me the most important of the karma. Because even if you are trying to get something and you go with the right intention, but you don't get the consequence that you were expecting, if the intention is the right one, you keep trying with the right intention. Mainly with the awareness, I would say. And of course, everything what you do in your ignorance, with avidya, everything what you do as a reaction or thing is gonna also create consequences, and it's gonna bond you or bind you to the cycle of samsara. That would be for me the most important of karma.
So, but he's talking about future karma. Okay? So we have the karma that brought us here, and that's something that we cannot change. Okay? So this is the sanchita karma. And our family is a big part of karma. And it's a way of working. Our karma is working with our family.
For example,
with the people that we have.
Students come here, and this is so clear sometimes. They come here and they see, oh yeah, I understand, but you see, I'm coming here already 2 years and I cannot bind in Marichasana D, and this one came 6 months ago and he's already binding. And this is a stupid example, but this is so typical. This is the family you were born, the body type constitution you have. This is what it is here right now. Of course, you are trying to get more awareness through the practice of asana, and you might create from that on new consequences through your karma. But this is the karma you came to this world. This you cannot avoid. This you cannot.
But for example, this is why I want to talk about prarabdha, which is the current karma, and there are 3 different types of intensity of this kind of present karma, present conditions. Some are like fixed, they are very difficult to, but some of them are like more or less, and some of them are like way more like easy to change. For example, the color of my eyes, it's very difficult to change. This is something that it's already set in motion. But for example, like I wanted to say, like the body we have is part of our karma. Like we come to this body because there is something specific that we have to learn with this body. So it's like this body is a chance for us to learn something out of it. It's like it's and the place where we were born as well. And for example, I want to give an example with this. Like for example, I remember with Matthias when we started dating. And we were
I knew it.
no. And we started to, like, we were very young into the practice. And we were living in Argentina. Argentina is very pretty, but it's like literally the end of the world. It's really far away from everything, which makes it very appealing for a lot of things, because everything happens far away. So we are not afraid of like big things, but at the same time, when, for example, in our case, we were really into this practice and we really wanted to go to India on a frequent basis. And for us, it was almost impossible to go from Argentina every year. It was. And I remember we were talking and he was saying, but it's so unfair that people who live in Europe or the States, they can afford like more easily to go on a frequent basis to India. And I remember talking to him and I was, well, but this is your karma. Like, these are the conditions that you came here with. And maybe there is something that you need to learn about this. And here we are. You know, it's like, okay, these are the conditions that I came with. And for us personally, it took us a huge movement of moving continents for being able to study with our teacher. Or we could have said, I'm fine with this, you know, I would stay there and this is my limitation and I'm happy with this. Okay? So there are there's a type of karma that can be changed, that you already came with and you can change. Okay? There is also said that you can change for example, your DNA is also karma. And they say that you can actually change your DNA.
What does it mean?
Sorry?
What does it mean?
Genetics?
Oh, okay.
So there are mutations of them. So you have some power over the present conditions and you have all power on future conditions. So the more you are identified with the results, the more you are identified with the action, the more karma you create. The less identification, the less bondage that is created. So in the practice, for example, we can like take a look of how we can practice in a way that is not for something, just for the sake of it.
I think in terms of like getting to samadhi state or some kind of state,
Brahma.
it's mentioned that like through that experience you burn karma in a form of seed, so then it
Samskaras, yeah.
arise.
We're going to talk about that when we cover Sankhya and Yoga.
Samskaras are all the impressions you have in your mind, or in yourself.
So
And-
that's past impressions.
And you burn them. They said you burn them because you are working with so much tapas, and dedication that sometimes this is something like your samskaras are conditioning yourself. You are being the way you are, good or bad, because of all the past experiences, all the samskaras you have. And there are some samskaras or some conditioning that you don't are so happy to. And so you might want to get rid from that conditioning. And that is what we call kind of burning those seeds through the abhyasa, through the practice. So you're gonna talk next time about that?
Yeah, when we talked about a little bit of yoga.
Okay. Next time. Para que quiero, before we vamos a cerrar, que decimos cosas.
Quería hacerle el Vedantic pranayama. So let's sit comfortable, close our eyes. And we're gonna inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Softly inhale. Exhale. Inhale, and you can repeat mentally, go hum. Who am I? Ho. So hum. I am that absolute consciousness. So hum. Exhale. Not a hum. I am not this body mind. Not a hum. Inhale. Go hum. Who am I? Hold. So hum. I am that absolute consciousness. So hum. Exhale. Not a hum. I am not this body mind. Inhale. Go hum. Who am I? Hold. So hum. I am that. Exhale. Not a hum. I'm not this body mind. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Slowly open the eyes. So when we hold the air in, it's kumbhaka, puraka kumbhaka. And kumbhaka means a pot. It's like we empty ourselves to receive. So I think it's a good practice to empty ourselves a bit. Sometimes it's too much input.
Good. With this, we're gonna finish this class. You might notice there's a lot of